Welcome back to another episode of AIM Vlog, the show where we connect you to the world of Christian missions. My name's Byron, and I am your energetic, sometimes funny, and moderately attractive host. On today's episode, we're traveling to the Africa Inland Mission Scarborough office to see John Brown, the Canadian Director of Africa Inland Mission. And we're going to ask John just exactly what does the Canadian Director do? My guess? He's got one of those sweet chairs that you can lean back in. You know, so that you can throw a tennis ball at the wall all day. Maybe watch a few YouTube videos while he's at it. Well, today we're going to make him do some real work and answer some of our questions. So John, tell us, just what exactly do you do?
As Canadian Director of AIM, I'm responsible, I'm the kind of ultimately responsible for everything that happens in Canada. As a mission office, and we call ourselves a mobilizing office in AIM, one of 6 around the world, I'm responsible to make sure that the mobilization takes place, and that starts with personnel. We continue to need missionaries to serve on our 20+ fields in Africa. So that doesn't mean at all that I'm out and finally the one that makes sure that everybody comes to AIM. We've got a great team working, but ultimately I'm responsible to make sure that takes place. We're also mobilizing finances for the work to continue, for missionaries to do their work, for projects to be developed, for collaboration with African mission agencies, churches, relief and development projects. We have to have funds, so ultimately I'm responsible for the finances of AIM. Again, I don't do all the giving, and I don't do all the accounting. We've got a great finance department, but I've got to make sure that it's properly staffed and that everything is taking place. We know that God doesn't work through means, He works as a result of prayer. And so one of my jobs is to ensure that Canadians are praying for Africa, praying for AIM, praying for our missionaries, praying for our projects, praying for the work to succeed in what God wants done in Africa and among African peoples. We've got a pretty extensive relief and development department in AIM Canada, and that involves cooperation with the Canadian International Development Agency, as well as with other foundations and individuals and businesses that care deeply about some of our projects like medical outreach, care for street kids, AIDS outreach. And so again, it's my responsibility to ensure that those partnerships are succeeding, that the accountability is taking place to Canadian donors or to the government who's backing us. And so we have a relief and development department that oversees that. Again, I make sure that we have the staffing we need and that the accounting is taking place as it ought to. As the Canadian Director, there is a pastoral component to my job, and that is ensuring that our missionaries that are out in the field, whether they're short-term or long-term, are getting the personal biblical care that they need. We've got a great organization on the ground in any of the countries where we're working. We have 4 regional offices that take prime responsibility for the pastoral care and oversight, vocational accountability of our people. But there still is an element where missionaries from Canada look back to us and want to know that they're being prayed for, that issues that might relate to families back here are being cared for, that we know about it, and that we're watching over them. So pretty regularly, once to twice a year, I go on extended trips out to visit our missionaries in the countries where they're working. Sit down with them, spend as much time as is possible right in the location where they're ministering. Often going out in ministry with them to be able to really experience what they're doing, so that I can accurately report back to their friends, family, and churches what they're doing. And I think it helps for me to be able to go out across the country and speak and share in churches and missions conferences what the needs are. And because I've been out there and I've been with our missionaries, I can see the needs through their eyes.